Hey, man, I think Shedeur got that boy sweat. This really just a check-in on Deshaun Watson. It seems like Deshaun Watson is waking up and he's starting to bring the competition to Shedeur too, because Shedeur been putting in work. As soon as the offseason, what'd he do? He went to Colorado, right? Getting in that altitude training. Ain't no air up there, boy. Hard body about it. That's what he started off with. Now he in that Texas heat. Dog, it's a heat advisory, y'all.
Deshaun Watson has $230 million guaranteed in his bank account. 9 years of NFL experience behind him, and right now, he is scared. Not nervous, not uncomfortable, scared. The kind of scared that makes a 9-year veteran quietly pull a guy who missed the entire spring out of nowhere, just to keep pace with a rookie who hasn't played a single regular season snap yet. Think about that. A former MVP candidate, a guy who once threw for 4,000 yards in a season, is scrambling behind the scenes because a 5th-round pick from the draft just made him sweat through his own practice jersey. And here's the part that should make every Cleveland fan stop and ask a real question. If Watson is so locked in, so confident, so ready to reclaim his starting job, why does he suddenly need reinforcements? Drop one word in the comments right now. Scared or confident? Because before we go any further, I want to know exactly where you stand on this one.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Deshaun Watson is a cornered animal. He's in desperation mode. I know he got $230 million and it's nice to have, but there's going to be a lot of doors closed if he can't impress the Browns or another NFL team enough to get the stench off of him. Because it's going to be hard to retire and do some other stuff or go into media, right? That requires a bit of connections. And again, he's a social pariah, like a real life social pariah. That man had his social media comments off for I think half a decade. Like it was 3 years. You couldn't even comment on his shit. He just not opened them up. Right? It's gonna be a hard time to operate in locker rooms if they don't fully trust you, or if you're not throwing around that $230 million when you can, right? So going against Shedeur's got, I want y'all to know, as much as I know the people who are the naysayers of Shedeur.
Harold Landry Jr. vanished. The entire spring went by and nobody saw him. Nobody heard from him. Nobody had an answer for where he was or when he'd be back. The word circulating was an injury, something keeping him out. Something serious enough to keep him completely away from the facility for weeks. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, he's back. Not just back, he's back catching passes from Deshaun Watson specifically. No build-up, no gradual return announcement, no practice report hinting he was close. Just gone one day and suddenly present the next, gloves on, running routes, feeding Watson completions like the spring absence never happened. Now ask yourself the question that nobody in Cleveland media wants to sit with. Why now? What changed between Harold Landry being completely absent and Harold Landry suddenly showing up healthy enough to work? Because the timing here is not a coincidence, and anyone telling you it is hasn't been paying attention. Shedeur Sanders turned up the pressure. That's what changed. The moment this quarterback competition started feeling real, the moment Watson's grip on that starting job started looking slippery, a guy who spent the entire spring invisible suddenly reappears. You don't have to be a football analyst to read that situation correctly. Veterans with that kind of money, veterans with 9 years of experience, do not call in favors for fun. They don't reach out to injured teammates and pull them back onto the practice field because they feel like getting some extra work in. They do it because something rattled them. They do it because the competition got closer than they planned for, and the usual routine stopped feeling like enough. Watson calling Landry back into that building isn't preparation. It's a reaction. And reactions tell you everything about the mental state of the person making them. Here's what makes this even more telling. Shedeur Sanders didn't do a single thing to provoke this. He didn't talk, he didn't post, he didn't give any interview saying Watson should be worried. He just trained. He just showed up and did the work quietly, and somehow, that was enough to shake a 9-year starter into making moves behind the scenes. That's not the energy of a quarterback who has his job locked up. That's the energy of a man who can feel something slipping, and doesn't know how to stop it without outside help. Think about what this looks like from inside that locker room right now. Players see everything. They notice who's calm and who's scrambling. They notice when a veteran who's supposed to be untouchable starts looking over his shoulder at a rookie who just got to town. Watson trying to bring Landry back into rhythm isn't just a football decision. It's a message to the locker room, and the message it's actually sending is the opposite of the one he intended. Instead of projecting confidence, it projects urgency. Instead of looking like a starter who owns the room, it looks like a man who needs backup just to hold his ground. And the thing that should really stick with you here, Shedeur hasn't reacted to any of it. No response, no reaction, no counter move. He's not watching Watson's chess game. He's playing a completely different one. And that contrast right there is the story of this entire competition so far. But what Shedeur was actually doing while Watson was busy making calls, that part is even more telling than anything Watson did. While Watson was pulling favors and working the phones, Shedeur Sanders went to Colorado. Not for a vacation, not for a brand appearance, not for a content shoot. He went for altitude training. For anyone who doesn't know what that actually means physically, let's be clear, training at altitude is one of the most brutally uncomfortable things an athlete can put themselves through voluntarily. The air is thin, oxygen is scarce. Your lungs burn faster, your body fatigues quicker, and there is no shortcut through it. You either grind through the discomfort or you go back to sea level where things are easier. Shedeur chose the discomfort. On purpose. In the off-season, when nobody required him to be anywhere, when he could have been anywhere in the world doing anything he wanted, he chose to go somewhere hard. That decision alone tells you more about his mindset than any combined number or draft grade ever could. This is a guy who, before throwing a single NFL pass, is already choosing the harder path because he understands what it takes to survive at this level. That's not a young player figuring things out. That's someone who already has the mentality of a starter. Then he came back from Colorado and went straight to Texas. Not in the fall when the weather cools down, not in the spring when conditions are reasonable, in the middle of a heat advisory. An actual, official heat advisory. The kind of weather that sends most people indoors. The kind of conditions that even coaches and trainers start questioning workouts in. And Shedeur stayed out. He trained through it like the advisory was background noise, and the reps in front of him were the only thing that mattered. Who does that? Seriously, sit with that question for a moment, because the answer isn't a guy who's unsure about himself. The answer isn't a fifth-round pick hoping to stick on a roster. The answer is someone who has already decided what they're going to be, and they're just putting in the physical receipts to back it up. There's no camera crew following Shedeur through a heat advisory for an Instagram video.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Now contrast that directly with what Watson's camp looks like right now. Watson's visible moves have been reactive, bringing back a missing tight end, trying to recreate chemistry that hasn't been tested under real game conditions in years. His preparation looks like damage control dressed up as competition prep. Shedeur's preparation looks like a man building something from scratch with full intention, no rush, and no panic behind any of it. The difference in approach matters because it shows up eventually. Athletes who chase discomfort in the off-season tend to handle pressure better when the games actually count. Athletes who spend their off-season reacting to competition rather than building their own foundation tend to crack when the moment gets big. Watson has had 9 years to build habits that carry him through adversity. The question Cleveland should be asking is whether those habits are still serving him, because from the outside looking in, they don't look like the habits of a man who's comfortable with his position. What comes next is the part of this story that Watson's camp really doesn't want discussed publicly, because the tape doesn't lie. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson's injury history honestly, because dancing around it doesn't help anyone. Tibia, fibula, shoulder. These aren't minor bumps or the kind of soft tissue issues that heal over a week and get forgotten. These are structural breakdowns that happened on an NFL field under real game conditions, against real competition. And they didn't happen once. They happened multiple times, in multiple seasons, to a player who was supposed to be one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the entire league when he came out of Clemson. The talent was never the question with Watson. The tape from his early Houston years showed a quarterback who could extend plays, create off schedule, make throws in tight windows, and hurt defenses in ways that most quarterbacks simply couldn't. That version of Watson was genuinely dangerous and genuinely exciting to watch. But that version of Watson also kept running into his own body's limitations, and each time the body broke down, something more than just bone and tissue got damaged. Trust got damaged too. The kind of trust a franchise needs to fully commit to a quarterback gets eroded every single time that quarterback can't stay on the field. Right now, before anyone even starts seriously evaluating this quarterback competition on pure talent, Watson has to answer one question first. Can he survive? Not thrive, survive. Can he make it through 7 games without something giving out again? That's the bar the conversation has been reduced to, and that should feel jarring to anyone who remembers what Watson was supposed to be when Cleveland handed him that fully guaranteed contract. They weren't paying for a maybe. They were paying for an answer, and the answer keeps getting interrupted by the same question. Is his body going to hold up this time? Shedeur doesn't carry any of that weight. No injury history haunting every practice rep. No fanbase holding its breath every time he takes a hit in training camp. He shows up healthy, he works healthy, and he walks off the field healthy. That consistency sounds simple, but in the NFL, availability is one of the most underrated qualities a quarterback can have, and Watson has proven repeatedly that he cannot guarantee it. Every snap Shedeur takes without a setback builds confidence in the organization's investment in him, even if that investment was a 5th-round pick. Every clean practice, every full week of reps, every game where he stays upright deposits into a trust account that Watson has been withdrawing from for years. The gap between them isn't just about arm talent anymore. It's about who the Browns can actually put their faith in when September arrives, and the results start mattering for real. The cruelest part of all of this for Watson is that even people who genuinely want to root for him can't fully do it. The worry follows every positive story. The concern interrupts every highlight. You start watching him throw a beautiful ball downfield, and somewhere in the back of your mind the thought creeps in, how long before the body gives out again? That's not fair to Watson as a human being, but it's the reality he created through years of unavailability. And that reality doesn't disappear just because training camp opened. And the durability problem isn't even the heaviest thing Watson is carrying into this competition. Money buys a lot of things in the NFL. It buys leverage in negotiations, influence in front offices, patience from ownership groups that might otherwise make changes faster. What money absolutely cannot buy is trust, and trust is the one currency Deshaun Watson has been running critically low on for years now. Not just with fans, not just with the media, but inside the very buildings where his career is supposed to be rebuilt. Think about the social media situation for a moment, because it's more revealing than it sounds on the surface. Watson had his comments turned off for years, not months, years. The man who's supposed to be the face of a franchise, the leader of a locker room, the quarterback that $230 million was wagered on, was hiding from his own comment section because the noise was too overwhelming to face publicly. That's not a small thing. That's a signal about where his relationship with public trust actually stands, and it doesn't stay neatly separated from how teammates and coaches perceive him behind closed doors. Locker rooms are not isolated from the outside world. Players have phones. They read things. They see how their starting quarterback is perceived by the league, by other players around the NFL, by fans of opposing teams. When a quarterback walks into a building carrying the kind of reputation Watson carries, The locker room has to decide silently what to do with that. Some guys will rally around him. Some guys will stay neutral. But some guys, especially veterans who have built careers on being selective about who they go to battle with, will hold something back. And that held back energy, that quiet reservation, shows up in subtle ways that don't always make the injury report but absolutely impact how a team functions. Watson's situation goes beyond performance questions. Retirement doesn't offer him a clean exit because media work requires relationships, and relationships require goodwill. Goodwill requires people around the league being willing to vouch for you, advocate for you, pull your name into rooms where decisions get made. Watson's network of goodwill has taken serious hits over the years, and rebuilding that kind of thing doesn't happen on a timeline that matches the urgency of his current situation. Now look at Shedeur's entry point into all of this. No accusations following him from city to city. No whisper network in NFL circles raising questions about character. No years of comments turned off. No PR management crisis running parallel to his football career. He's a rookie quarterback walking into a professional locker room with nothing but football to talk about. And that simplicity is more powerful than people give it credit for. Longevity in this league is built on more than arm strength and football IQ. It's built on whether teammates want to keep going to war with you, whether coaches want to keep designing game plans around you, whether organizations keep finding reasons to extend your runway. Shedeur starts building all of those things from a clean foundation. Watson is trying to rebuild them from a cracked one. That difference compounds over time, and by the time the season starts mattering for real, the gap it creates might be wider than any stat line could ever show. But here's what really shifts the entire conversation about this competition, and it has everything to do with a number. 32%. Watson has only completed 32% of his massive guaranteed contract, and that number should genuinely unsettle every Cleveland fan who's been waiting patiently for this situation to resolve itself. The money is spent. It's already committed. It's gone regardless of what happens on the field this season. The Browns cannot unwrite that check, cannot restructure their way out of the obligation, and cannot pretend it doesn't affect how they build the roster around whoever ends up starting at quarterback. The financial handcuffs on this franchise are real, and Watson's performance has not come close to matching the investment made in him. Shedeur is on a fifth-round contract. Let's actually sit with what that means in practical NFL terms, because the commentary around it tends to focus on perception, people saying fifth-round pick like it's an insult, when the reality is that a fifth-round salary might be the best thing that ever happened to the Cleveland Browns in this particular situation. Affordable quarterbacks who can actually win games don't get cut. They get opportunities. They get extended runways when veterans stumble. They get chances that first-round picks earning massive rookie deals don't even get, because the risk calculation is completely different. Shedeur has already won competitive games. Not scrimmages, not camp practices against actual football games against real competition. That's already more than what a lot of fifth-round picks can put on a resume when the conversation about roster decisions starts happening. Teams around the NFL are always looking for a backup who costs nothing and produces like someone who should be earning more. The moment Shedeur shows he can operate in the NFL, some team in this league will always find a reason to keep him around. His rookie contract doesn't just benefit him, it benefits whichever building he's in, because affordable production changes how a front office makes every other decision on the roster. Watson's contract does the exact opposite. Every year that deal stays active, it limits what Cleveland can do around the quarterback position. It limits what they can spend on the offensive line that protects whoever is taking snaps. It limits what they can offer wide receivers who need those targets to produce. It limits the secondary, the pass rush, every area of the roster that needs investment to actually compete in a division that doesn't get easier. A struggling veteran quarterback on a fully guaranteed $230 million deal doesn't just hurt the team on Sundays. He constrains the whole organization's ability to build a winner around him. And even if Shedeur doesn't win this competition outright, even if Watson holds onto the job through training camp and into the regular season, the situation doesn't disappear. Shedeur stays on the roster. Shedeur keeps taking reps. Every mistake Watson makes, every missed practice, every injury scare immediately puts Shedeur back into the conversation. The pressure doesn't end with a depth chart decision. It just changes form. And Watson, carrying $230 million and a decade of expectations, has to live with that pressure every single day, while a rookie on a cheap deal does nothing but keep getting better. That's a brutal dynamic to operate in, and it only gets harder when you look at what's actually happening inside that locker room right now. NFL locker rooms have their own economy, and the currency isn't dollars. It's respect. And respect in that environment doesn't get handed out based on contracts or draft position or years of service. It gets earned through repetition, through who shows up early when nobody's keeping score, through who grinds through the heat advisory when coaches aren't watching the clock, through who's still in the building working when the lights are halfway off and the parking lot is mostly empty. That's where real locker room standing gets built, and it doesn't show up on any depth chart. Shedeur has been quietly stacking that respect since the moment the offseason started. Every rep he took in Colorado altitude conditions, every session he pushed through in Texas heat that sent everyone else indoors, all of it gets noticed. Veterans don't miss that kind of thing. They might not say it in front of a camera, they might not give the rookie a standing ovation in the meeting room, but they see it. And what they see shapes how they respond to that player when the real pressure moments come during the season. The locker room already knows who's earning it and who's managing their image. Watson is in image management mode right now, and it's visible. The Harold Landry situation isn't a leadership move. It reads like a veteran trying to manufacture chemistry under pressure, because organic preparation wasn't generating the confidence boost he needed. Real locker room leaders don't need to scramble. Real locker room leaders set the tone so clearly that nobody questions the pecking order. Watson's moves are creating questions where there should be answers, and veterans in that locker room are taking mental notes on every single one. Think about how it feels to be a young offensive lineman in that building right now. You're watching a rookie push a 9-year starter into reactive mode. You're watching the veteran respond not by elevating his own game visibly, but by pulling in outside reinforcement. And then you're watching the rookie just keep grinding, unbothered, like none of it registers on his radar. Which one of those guys makes you feel better about the season ahead? Which one of those guys gives you the energy of somebody who already knows what this team is going to be? Shedeur's quiet consistency is doing something that no press conference could manufacture. It's building genuine trust through action. And genuine trust is the foundation every successful NFL locker room is built on. Watson doesn't need people to pretend his situation is simpler than it is. He needs to actually walk into that building every single day and be the most reliable presence in the room. Right now, based on everything visible from the outside, that description fits his competition better than it fits him. The locker room dynamic isn't just a soft talking point. It eventually shows up in the fourth quarter of close games, in the huddle when the protection breaks down and the quarterback needs his guys to dig in one more time. That kind of commitment comes from genuine respect, and genuine respect in that building right now is trending in one very clear direction. And that direction is going to become impossible to ignore once the public side of this story picks up momentum. Picture the next few months in Cleveland football. Every training camp practice that gets any kind of media coverage becomes a referendum on this quarterback battle, whether the Browns organization wants it to be won or not. Every strong Shedeur rep becomes a clip that circulates online before the practice session is even finished. Every Watson hesitation, every slightly off throw, every moment where his mechanics look even slightly rusty, gets screenshot and dissected by a fan base that has been through too much disappointment to give unlimited patience to a situation that's already cost them dearly. Cleveland fans are not a soft audience. They've watched this franchise carry heavy burdens through decades of near misses and hard lessons, and the Watson era specifically has delivered very little in return for an enormous investment of both money and emotional energy. That fan base is ready for something different, and they're watching this competition with sharper eyes than any analytics department. The moment they collectively decide that Shedeur looks like the answer, the public pressure on the organization to act becomes something the front office can't completely ignore, regardless of what the depth chart officially says. And then there's the media cycle that feeds itself. Every positive Shedeur story creates the contrast that makes Watson's struggles look bigger than they might actually be in isolation. Every injury scare for Watson, and with his history, the question isn't if, it's when, immediately sends the narrative into overdrive. Local Cleveland media will try to manage it. National outlets won't feel any obligation to be gentle about it. And social media, where Shedeur's highlights will travel fast and wide, doesn't follow anyone's preferred narrative. It follows engagement, and Shedeur is already a name that drives engagement before he's taken a meaningful NFL snap. Here's the reality that makes this situation even more combustible. Shedeur doesn't need some dramatic, undeniable moment to change the conversation completely. He doesn't need to throw for 400 yards in a preseason game or engineer a miraculous comeback against a stacked defense. He just needs to be steady. He just needs to look like a quarterback who knows what he's doing and keep his body on the field while doing it. Given Watson's history of missing time, the moment Watson goes down even briefly, even just for a few practices, Shedeur gets reps with the first team, and first-team reps have a way of changing organizational thinking faster than any depth chart decision ever could. The Browns' front office is watching this too, even if they're being careful about how they talk about it publicly. Andrew Berry didn't build this roster to waste resources protecting a starter who can't stay healthy or trusted. He built it to compete, and competing means following the best available option, even when that option disrupts a very expensive previous decision. If Shedeur keeps doing what he's been doing, training hard, staying available, making smart decisions with the ball, the front office is eventually going to have to respond to what they're seeing. Not because of fan pressure, not because of media narratives, but because the evidence in front of them will leave them no other intellectually honest choice. And the timeline on all of this is shorter than Watson's camp probably wants to believe. Andrew Berry doesn't make emotional decisions. That's actually one of the things Cleveland fans have come to appreciate about how the front office operates. There's a process, there's an evaluation framework, and decisions tend to come from evidence rather than from headline pressure or fan noise alone. But processes produce conclusions eventually, and the evidence that's been building around this quarterback situation is going to produce a conclusion that not everyone in that building is going to love hearing. The cap implications of Watson's contract haven't gone away. They're not going to go away. Every decision the Browns make this season and beyond gets filtered through the reality of what that money is already committed to. But front offices also understand the concept of sunk costs, and at some point, the smartest financial move isn't to keep honoring a bad investment. It's to cut the losses, redirect the resources, and build around something that actually has a future. The question is whether Cleveland gets to that conclusion on their own terms, or whether a Watson injury forces the decision for them. Shedeur's affordability is genuinely a superpower in this context. A quarterback on a rookie deal who develops into even a serviceable starter fundamentally changes how a front office approaches roster construction. Suddenly, the money that was locked into the quarterback position becomes available for an offensive line that can actually protect him. It becomes available for a receiver room that gives him real weapons. It becomes available for the defensive upgrades that have been put on hold because the salary structure demanded prioritization elsewhere. One affordable quarterback playing well unlocks the entire organizational budget in ways that are hard to overstate. Barry has to be looking at this situation and seeing the possibility clearly, even if he's not saying it publicly. He has a veteran on a crippling deal who can't stay healthy and carries a reputation that creates friction everywhere he goes. He has a rookie on a cheap deal who is outworking everyone, staying healthy, and quietly building organizational trust from the ground up. The football evaluation isn't even the complicated part of this. The complicated part is managing the business reality of a $230 million commitment that can't just be erased from the balance sheet with a depth chart shuffle. But the NFL has seen organizations navigate exactly this kind of situation before, and the teams that navigated it best were the ones that didn't let the size of a previous mistake prevent them from making the right decision when the evidence became undeniable. Cleveland doesn't have to admit the Watson contract was a catastrophic error publicly. They just have to let the competition play out honestly and trust the evaluation process they've built. If that process works the way it's supposed to, it will arrive at the same conclusion that anybody watching this situation from the outside has already reached. Watson is not the answer anymore. Maybe he was once. Maybe in a different scenario, with a healthy body and a clean reputation, he could have been what Cleveland needed. But the body won't cooperate and the reputation follows him too closely. And neither of those problems gets solved by pulling a tight end out of a spring injury absence and hoping the chemistry comes back fast enough to matter. The clock on all of this is ticking, and it doesn't care about guaranteed money. Here's what this whole situation actually comes down to. Deshaun Watson didn't reach out to Harold Landry because he's preparing. He reached out because Shedeur Sanders made him feel something he hasn't felt in a long time. Real, legitimate pressure from a rookie on a fifth-round deal with no injury history, no reputation baggage, and no reason to panic about anything. That contrast alone tells the real story of where this competition stands right now, and no amount of media spin changes what people inside that building already know. Watson has the contract. Shedeur has the momentum, the health, the locker room respect, and the organizational value that only gets stronger the longer this competition runs. And momentum in this league has a way of becoming permanent faster than anyone expects. Stay locked in with Gridiron Ground, because this story is far from finished. Hit that subscribe button right now, not because we told you to, but because you already know we're going to be the ones telling you what happened before the rest of the internet catches up. Drop a like, share this with someone who still thinks Watson has this locked up, and let's see if the truth gets loud enough for Cleveland to actually hear it.
He been putting the work in, man. He been grinding, man. I can't deny it. I wish I could. I wish I could hate, but I can't. That boy doing it. And you know, for all the people, including myself, who are skeptical of Deshaun Watson's body, I really don't even think. I think Deshaun Watson is gonna have to learn how to have the ability to survive more than 7 games before he thinks about an actual quarterback competition. That's how I feel, because I've seen him play. I've seen his tibias, his fibulas, his shoulders, everything explode multiple times out there on that football field, right? So I need to ensure that he can actually do that. I'm excited to see. Again, Deshaun Watson plays some fun football now. He played some interesting football. I think my guy too got him in the building, man. My guy, the next 4, Shedeur is gonna be here through his rookie contract. I'm almost guaranteeing that. I'm not saying that he's gonna be the greatest. He's gonna be this, but a 5th round contract, and yeah, that's just affordable. Like, yeah, you understand that he makes himself affordable, especially because he's played competitive games. He's won football games. He's done things that not a lot of I know we want to say, oh, he's so terrible. If we compare them to 5th round picks at that value, if we talk about the NFL, somebody's going to want to try. Maybe a backup, maybe a this, maybe that. He's going to be in the league cutting checks, cutting NFLPA checks for at least his rookie contract. I'm sure more than that, right? Deshaun Watson, if you don't be like, it's going to be cool. If Shedeur loses this, even though he wants to win it, he got more years. He got at least 3 more. Hey, it's gonna be all right. He got 2 jerseys to sell. You feel me?
Dangerous.